minutes. Sets of minutes to be approved today as a true and correct copy, and if somebody can provide me with them, I will sign them, please. Thank you. Okay, got to take a vote. Apparently I have to take the vote. All in favour, please show.
That's clearly carried for all three sets. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. So where do I have to sign them? Oh, down there. All together?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 2, is there any urgent business? I am not aware of any urgent business at this time. Item 3, exempt information. There should be no need to divide the agenda. Item 4, declarations of interest. Members, do any of you have any declarations of interest that you would wish to declare at this point? No? There are none that we're aware of. Item 5, chairman's engagements. You will have all received an email from Anna last night with some of the engagements that I've carried out during the last 3 months from September until now, and I don't wish to particularly mention any of them. I've been out and about quite a lot. I had a very pleasant afternoon lunchtime at Woolwell with Councillor Hotwood, and it was a pleasure to go to Woolwell and see what happens there when we don't actually go there for a meeting. So thank you for inviting me, Nikki. Item 6, business brought forward by the chairman. I have none at present. And item 7 is the update commercial investment strategy and capital strategy. Councillor Judy Pearce, please.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I move the recommendations, and you will note on the screen that there is an additional recommendation to delegate authority to the Section 151 officer in consultation with the Leader of the Council to make any minor amendments to any of these 3 strategies.
Seconded, Chairman.
These amendments are necessary to enable the Council to make a possible investment in renewable energy. Renewable energy is a very good fit with our declaration of a climate change emergency, and the proposal would be an investment in 2 solar farms, albeit outside the district, and these are under active consideration. The energy generated can be of direct benefit to the district, as explained in paragraphs 27 to 29 of the report. The track changes in the various documents in the appendices are shown and have been recommended by our legal advisors. Chairman, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Does anyone have any questions they wish to ask?
Thank you, Chairman. Will the solar farms fulfil all of the electricity requirements of this council, or will we have some to possibly share with other organisations?
I can't answer that question for you exactly, but I will give you an answer after the meeting.
Councillor Birch.
Thank you. If I could turn to the additional paper, which is 7, it's the Appendix B, SHDC Investment Strategy 1920, Track Change Visible, page 11, paragraph 4.1. In this document that is supporting the recommendation, there has been a paragraph deleted, and the paragraph that has been deleted is that the council is also proposing to make a £25,000 investment in a 10-year investment bond being offered by Dartington Trust, etc. I won't read it all out. That has been deleted from the documentation at Appendix B, and in the recent members' bulletin, we were informed as members that had been a meeting between officers and Dartington Trust, and that public knowledge that Dartington Trust do have are in financial problems. Could we be informed as members? I'm not expecting an answer at the meeting today, but if we could be informed as members, what happened at that meeting? It is being reported that proposals put forward by this council to Dartington Trust were rejected. Could we as members be informed as to what proposals, if any, were put to Dartington Trust and rejected? As I say, I'm not expecting an answer at this meeting, but if I could be, if we as members could be informed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce.
Thank you. First of all, I think the what you see in red there are the changes that were made in March of this year. The changes in blue are the present changes. And the grant to Dartington was withdrawn at that point and is not something recent. That's the first point. The second point is, yes, you can be updated after the meeting, but I don't have the details either with me here.
I'll just come back and say that I have actually previously requested details of the meeting, and I'm still awaiting for those details, so that's the reason I'm asking this question at the council this morning.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't at the meeting myself. The understanding is it was just an introductory meeting to meet the new management team at Dartington. So I will get details published in terms of what was discussed, but my understanding it was just introductions.
Councillor Sweet.
Thank you. Yeah, I really welcome the solar farms and the change in the investment strategy. I just wanted to double check. I think we went through an overview and scrutiny, but any of the solar farms will continue to be farmed, that there will be, grass and butterflies and sheep grazing underneath. So, anything in the future that we do invest in, that the land continues in that use as well as the solar farm. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you. Has been proposed and seconded, so we can now open it to debate if anyone would like to debate this subject. The resolutions before you, the recommendations, and I would ask each member to speak once and only once, and not to repeat anything anybody else has already said. No comment, therefore we will take the vote then, and the recommendations are in front of you. Do you wish to take them all one as one recommendation, then two as a separate one? Or en bloc? En bloc has been suggested, so we'll take them en bloc. All those in favour, please show.
That's 24 unanimous. Thank you, Chairman.
We'll then move on to item 8, which is Community Infrastructure Levy. Councillor Pearce, would you like to introduce this report?
I move the recommendations.
Secondly, Chairman.
Thank you. Has anyone any questions they would like to ask on this item?
Can I introduce it? Yes, sure. Thank you. This report seeks to authorise both the collection of an evidence base and internal and external workshops to discuss the evidence base before it goes out to public consultation. A member workshop was held recently to explain what Community Infrastructure Levy is, which I'm now going to refer to as SIL, how it works and why it's likely to be beneficial to South Hams District Council and West Devon Borough Council planning authorities. The Stage 1 viability report was also shared at the workshop. It shows that SIL could be charged in most areas of the district. Since South Hams last considered charging SIL, there have been two important changes to policy and regulations which will enable it to be more relevant to our district. These are changes in the latest version of the NPPF as to how land value is to be assessed, and the removal of Regulation 123 and its strict rules about what was permissible in Section 106 agreements alongside SIL. Sorry, did everybody get that? Because it was a little bit interrupted. It is quite important, this point about Regulation 123, which strictly regulated what you could charge in Section 106 agreements if you were also charging SIL, but that restriction has now been removed. For both these reasons, it's thought that it is worth proceeding to the evidence base and consultation. The process is set out in paragraphs 3.1 of the report and the timetable in paragraph 3.6. The only thing the report doesn't consider, which it could have done, but it doesn't matter at this stage, is any cost of administering SIL, but this can be discussed as part of the consultation process when considering any risks of introducing the system. Thank you. I'm happy to take.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Councillor Birch, please.
Paragraph 319 on page 78. Is this correct? And it states that SIL cannot be imposed retrospectively on any sites that already have any form of planning permission. And then it goes on to say, including allocated sites in the JLP. In other words, if there are sites within the JLP that are allocated, then they are exempt from SIL. Is that correct?
Councillor Birch, they're only exempt insofar as the developers will have made calculations on those sites which did not include SIL when they were bringing them forward and gaining outline planning permission or whatever. So, yes, that is correct, but if we introduce SIL, then it would be imposable on any sites coming forward after the date we introduce it. Does that make it clearer for you?
Councillor Smurden.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, I didn't put the light on. I was looking through here. Apologies if it is in here and I can't find it, but this is obviously going to have a considerable impact on developers. Now, there probably isn't a huge amount of sympathy, well, whatever, around it for developers who tend to be able to look after themselves, but is it planned to discuss? We have a developers forum, do we not, with the planning? So presumably this is going to be discussed at that?
The report does detail that there will be a workshop for stakeholders for that purpose, Councillor Smurden.
Okay.
Councillor Pennington, please.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. I think this is an excellent idea, an excellent report to start off with, because it reinforces what the new government has been stressing, particularly before this. In other words, they never stop talking, and rightly so, about when development takes place, infrastructure is most important, and to some extent, I mean, I've got one in my parish where, for example, I'm not going to which development took place, and no infrastructure took place, and it's chaotic at the moment as a result of that, and new roads must be looked at as well. Now, also too, I would like to say that we must, well, I think, and it does say we are, definitely engage town and parish councils in this, when we investigate this. And we are having a number of meetings, I know, and they must be informed and they must be invited, because town and parish councils are an important part of this. Can I have an assurance that they will be?
Thank you, Councillor Pennington. Councillor Pearce, do you wish to respond to that?
Yes, town and parish councils will certainly be made aware of this and will be part of the consultation, and it will be up to individual members to explain it to their town and parish councils. So read, mark and learn this report.
Thank you, Councillor. Does anyone else have any questions before we move to the debate? Does anyone wish to make any further comments? Okay. Moved and seconded, so we will now take the vote. All those in favour, please show.
That is also unanimous. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 9, political structures and governance review, which Councillor Pearce, I'm afraid you've got a lot to say today. down to your name, so if you'd like to move.
Yeah, sorry, they all
Introduce
seem
this.
to be my reports today, yes. Well, first of all, I move recommendations, which you have before you. There are 6 quite long recommendations. But the 6 recommendations set out the substance of this report. Recent development management committees have demonstrated, I think, how useful it would be to have substitutes sitting on this committee. I was personally in favour of the same system being used for overview and scrutiny, but the working group didn't sanction this. And anyway, there is the possibility at overview and scrutiny for all members to ask questions, so it's not quite the same thing. Substitutes is a good way of forming polyvalent councillors. It gives councillors experience on different committees, and I think is valuable from that point of view for their own formation as well as for that of the council. However, I've already said the bit about overview and scrutiny, but all members can ask questions at overview and scrutiny, so that's all right from that point of view. Now, a draft protocol for the DM substitutes is appended to the report, and note, everybody, that notification of a substitute is through the leader of the relevant political group with a time limit of noon on the Friday being notified to the committee section before the committee meeting. On page 91 of the supplementary papers, there is a revised version of point 6, which I think is also appearing on the screen at the moment, which is to do with the webcasting of the committee, so that if you weren't at the committee where the presentation was made and it was deferred, then you would still be able to vote as long as you had watched the webcast of that presentation. You also need to note that development management is a politically balanced committee, so an opposition member must be substituted by an opposition member and a ruling group member by a Conservative substitute. I think the other recommendations are clear. I anticipate some debate on them, but I'm happy to take any questions at this stage.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Brazil.
Yeah, just for clarification there, when you were talking about substitute members, so if when you say opposition, does that include everyone who isn't a Conservative member, i.e., if a Lib Dem Green or Independent can't make it, can they be substituted? If it's, say, for example, a Lib Dem, can they be substituted by a Green or an Independent by a Lib Dem, etc.?
Councillor Brazil, at the moment, the opposition consists of 2 separate groups, Lib Dems and Greens. Now, your group leader has put forward some substitutes, that is some of your Lib Dem members who are prepared to substitute at DM. So far, we have had no substitutes put forward from the Green Party. That doesn't mean to say that they cannot be put forward, but I need to ask Mr. White whether it needs to go through council first before those substitutes can sub.
Thank you, Leader. For you, Chairman, yes, it would. It need a council appointment for a substitute. Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. Councillor Bastow, please.
Yes, sorry, Chairman, I didn't second the proposal because you absolutely threw me when you said that Councillor Pearce was going to have a lot to say today. But I thought it applied to every day. But can I second the proposal, please?
Thank you, Councillor Bastow. You've thrown me now as to where we are. Does anyone else wish to ask any questions on this item? Or we'll open it up to debate if anyone wishes to debate it. Has anyone any comments, anything they wish to say? No, you're all very quiet today. Come on. No? In that case, we'll move to the recommendation then, and all those in favour, please show.
That is also unanimous. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Item 10, Dementia Friendly Council. Councillor Hawkins, I believe you're going to introduce this report.
Very much, Madam Chairman. I would just like to thank Mrs Daly for all the hard work and effort in bringing this forward to the council. I believe that South Hams Council, if we approve this recommendation today, will be one of the first in Devon to actually become a dementia-friendly council in Devon, which is a good way forward. As it says, dementia will affect most people in our communities during their lives, be it through experience themselves, a loved one or a friend. And I think we've all known relatives and friends who have had dementia over our lives. The likelihood of developing dementia increases with age, and I'm looking at Councillor Bastone. In Devon, it is predicted that in 5 years' time, approximately 17,000 people will live with dementia. South Hams' population of those aged 65 and older is 1.8% higher than the Devon average and 8.4% higher than the national average. Therefore, we're likely to have more people and relatives and families having dementia or knowing people with dementia than in the rest of the country. The strapline, small changes, big difference, which is used by the Alzheimer's Society, indicate that there are many changes that can happen locally and can greatly help those with where they live, their environment, and their carers. The report before you proposes that relatively little cost will happen, or actually cost the South Hams District Council, but by becoming dementia friendly, we will be able to make a considerable difference to those relatives and residents that we serve. And I know Tom would like to, as Tom who's worked very hard on this, would also like to just have a few words.
Thank you, Councillor Hawkins. Councillor Holway, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I've not worked as hard as Louisa Daly, who's prepared the report for you today, and I'd like to echo Jonathan's thanks to her. I'm particularly well qualified, I think, to second this. It's pretty obvious. You only got to look at me and you'll know why. But it ties in with most of our council policies, particularly customer service and safeguarding of vulnerable people. And so I'm just pleased to second this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Baston.
Thank you, Chairman. And could I thank Councillor Hawkins for his kind remarks. I was part of the group of three that sat with Louisa, and I echo what my two colleagues say, that Louisa did an excellent job on this and continues to work hard in many other areas in the council. But it was obvious why Councillor Holway and myself were enlisted to help Councillor Hawkins. I won't go into great depth on that, but I think this is a lovely little venture going forward. It won't be over costly to the council, and hopefully we will meet our objective in due course.
Thank you, Councillor Holway. Any other members wish to make comment on this matter? Councillor Sweet.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I really welcome this. Well done, Louisa, and everyone that's worked on it. My dad has quite serious Alzheimer's, so that's not very nice. I've been reading his sort of notes recently of when he was sort of applying for all sorts of disability benefits for my mum, who he was caring for at the time. When I was reading this morning, it just sort of brought up, we don't seem to have anything at present, sort of in any of the bullet points on page 95, about our telephone system. I just really remember my dad throwing telephones across the room and smashing them out of utter frustration with call waiting. So I think that's something that really I think, is that your department, Councillor Hopwood? I think that's something that already can be quite frustrating to people when they're on call waiting and they're pressing buttons, but somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia, it is absolutely, something which would turn somebody into a complete stressful mess. So that's something I really wanted to highlight, sort of moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sweet. I'm sure that being held online for a long time frustrates all of us, and you can be there for like 25 minutes music playing in your ear. It frustrates me sometimes. Councillor Buster.
It's reminding, what Councillor Sweet has said is reminding me of something in as much as was this old gentleman who had asked his granddaughter for a newspaper, and she said, "Oh, Grandad, you're out of date. You need an app on a phone." So she handed him the phone, and he threw the phone at the wall. And she said, "What did you do that for?" "Well, I've got the fly, didn't I?"
Thank you. Well, it is Christmas after all. Thank you for that one. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm fully behind this kind of initiative, to be honest. It's a splendid idea, and I think we certainly need to take advantage of the of the considerable expertise available to us across this district, particularly things like the dementia-friendly parishes around the Yelm Society, which has been helping the elderly and those that suffer with dementia, particularly in areas like Holberton, Wembury, Newton, Narsey, Elmpton, and Brixton, and we have in particular a very intelligent chap called Ian Sheriff, who I believe was the Prime Minister's special advisor on dementia. So I hope that we can certainly utilise this for the best benefit of our residents.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Hotwood.
You mentioned about call waiting at 25 minutes, and it could be. Can I just remind you, please, that 9 calls in November waited 25 to 30 minutes. So I hope you're not referring to this council, because that's quite a good stat. And I take on board what Councillor Sweet has said, and I think it's something that we need to look into to see how we help with dementia. I'm sure it's something that Mrs. Daly's probably looking into at the moment, and we'll come back with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hotwood. No, I was not referring to this council because most of us have got other ways and means of contacting whoever we want to speak to within this council, but there are other organisations where you can be left waiting for ages and ages with music playing in your ears, and it is very irritating for even us of ordinary, I don't know what ordinary is these days, but people who are able to correspond, and people who've got real problems. It's very frustrating for them indeed. Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sorry to be miserable at this time of year, but just to say, a number of members are treating this in a jocular fashion. I do not think dementia is a cause for jokes. I think it is a serious matter, and references have been made to older people. Of course, people of all ages can suffer from dementia. And just to support what Councillor Brown said, the work of the dementia-friendly parishes around the Yalm is absolutely tremendous. It is a credit to the South Hams, and I am aware, as Councillor Brown said, that the Prime Minister has been taking advice from members of that group. And just to say, within the recommendations, with the addition of the one mentioned by Councillor Sweet, what I like about the recommendations, they are things within the gift of this council. And changing the signage is very important. Training our taxi drivers is mentioned as well, and these are things which we can do as a district council, and I'm very pleased to see that we are taking the subject very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baldry. Councillor Foss.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm very pleased about this. I mean, there's a lot of local clubs, such as Rotary and that, who have been dementia-friendly for some considerable time. And I'm glad that this council is one of the leading ones in catching up, so to speak. And I totally agree with Councillor Baldry. This is a very serious matter. We all know people that have got dementia to a greater or lesser degree. And it is very upsetting to see them, but as much as we can help them, we will.
Thank you. Councillor Hawkins.
Can I just come back on this? As my mother had dementia for over 2 years before she passed away, I know very first-hand how difficult and how hard it is to look after a family member closely that suffers from this. So I know first-hand how difficult this is and how family members it's very, very difficult to go through that period. So I know that I had my mother for 2 years.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to comment on this item? If not, we will move to the debate. It's been proposed and seconded, so can I ask all those in favour, please, to show?
That's unanimous. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. We move to item 11, which is the annual review of health and safety policy statement, and once again, Councillor Pearce will introduce this.
Thank you again, Chairman. First of all, I move the recommendation. This is the... Thank you. This is the annual review of the health and safety policy and reflects the recent changes in the senior leadership team and the extended leadership team, along with a fresh 3-year plan.
Do you wish to say any more? Do you want, or have you completed what you wish to say? Right, thank you. Has anyone wished to pass any comments, ask any questions or whatever on this item? Yeah, here is Councillor Bastone. You've seconded, haven't you? Yes, thank you. No further debate required? No one want to say anything? You're all very quiet today. Can I therefore move to the vote then, please? All those in favour, please show.
That's once again unanimous. Thank you, Chairman.
Right, thank you. We'll move on to item 12, which is the calendar of meetings for 2020-21. Councillor Pearce, please.
Sorry, thank you. I move the recommendation as shown. Now, there is already one change, that an additional executive meeting be added to the grid that you have already for the 3rd of December. And the council meeting that was scheduled to be held on the 10th of December 2020 is being put back a week to the 17th of December. So we shall be here again next year, all being well. The setting up of the calendar is a complex operation. But I think Councillor Brazil should note that there are no meetings in August other than a DM meeting in the first week. So you have got an almost clear run in August, because I know you're the one that never wants meetings in August. So obviously somebody's been looking after you this year. I have no further comments, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. I didn't think it was Councillor Brazil. I thought it was a gentleman sitting on this side of the House who was not happy with having meetings in August and children's holidays. Okay, so does anyone wish to... Councillor Bowdre?
Of a meeting on the 17th of December has just been thrown at us. We can see today from the number of members here, it is not convenient having this meeting so close to Christmas. Are there outstanding reasons why it has to be put back until the 17th? The members here have got here, but a lot of members haven't.
Thank you, Councillor Bowdre. I pass no comment on that. Perhaps Councillor Pearce?
Councillor Baldry, I think I could say that there are a number of members who may not have anticipated this time last year that they were going to be councillors this year. There are also people I know who are absent for family reasons because they've got family members who are ill and that's why they're not here. Now, that would happen at any time. But I think all the members here and all the members who aren't here will have notice of this change and so will know that it is proposed that there should be a council meeting on the 17th of December next year. And they could possibly give us notice now if they anticipate they're not going to be present at that meeting. Because the executive meeting on the 3rd was not included in the original programme, but it could be moved back. If people feel very strongly on it, if people other than Councillor Baldry are feeling strongly on it, I dare say the chairman could take a vote on it.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If we agree this calendar of meetings, will all these dates be immediately added to the electronic calendar that we carry in the Surface Go devices? Because, obviously, personally, I tend to use the calendar that's in here as pretty much the major calendar, diary, whatever. And if all of those meetings are immediately uploaded now, it does help when you're planning further.
Can I just come back and say immediate, like after lunch? No. But immediate, like before, possibly before the new year or within the first week after the new year? Before January. But you can print off the schedule because, you can do it. Just copy and paste it onto a Word document and have a print off it.
Just to add to that, Chairman, we will commit to producing the diary date updates through the month of January. Thank you.
Mrs. Trant, did you want to pass comment? Since it might fall on your desk. Thank you.
If I may, I would have thought that it would be handy to have them all on there, but that's a personal feeling.
Thank you. Well, I don't think... Carry on.
What we can do, Chairman, with that in mind is when before we populate the dates, if any members wish to receive every single individual meeting request, let us know. We'll make sure that's actioned.
Thank you. Councillor Abbott. Okay, right, thank you. Wish to speak about the dates? They're all quite happy with them so far as they are, and we have to programme ourselves to the dates, and we know when they're going to be, like 12 months in advance. So personally, I don't have a problem with it. You work what else you want to do around the dates of the meetings that you should be at. We don't all attend all the meetings we should be at, but we do our very best. And if we have a family issue comes up, well, then I'm afraid I do think family comes first. So otherwise, I'll do my best to make sure I'm at every meeting. So all those in favour of the policy, please show.
That's unanimous. Thank you, Chairman.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Well, item 13 is to present Mr. John Tucker with his honorary alderman's badge, and I'd like to say a few. Say a few words about John. John has given 22 years service to our council. He's been the ward member latterly for Restart when we had boundary reviews. Sorry, shall I start again? No? Okay. When we had boundary reviews, and then most of the years, for 12 years, he was leader of this council, and prior to that he was deputy leader and also vice chairman of the planning committee at one time. I believe when our chairman of the planning committee was a very dear friend to many of us, Councillor Ted Mitchell, who sadly passed away nearly 14 years ago while he was still a serving member of this council. John has been a friend to many and a challenger to fellow councillors. He knows what I'm going to say next, because it must be the best part of 20 years ago when we first started doing emails, and I said, I can't do that. I don't know, I'm going to cope with that. And John says, if I can do it, you can do it. So I thought, well, if John Tucker can do it, I must be able to do it. So I worked on from there. He has worked tirelessly for the benefit of people within the South Hams, sometimes under difficult circumstances, and I am very pleased that today we are able to honour him with a badge and confer the position of Alderman of the Council on him. I haven't got a sword, but I have got a badge on a ribbon, if you'd like to come forward, John. I think so. I'll give him the box.
I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and it's a pleasure being here. I've been back once before, and I'm pretty pleased that I've retired, actually, because it's all changed and nothing stays the same, so you have to move on. But I did enjoy my 22 years, and you can't believe, till you get a job like the leader's got, how good it is to meet so many different people up and down the world or the country. And it actually is a totally different ball game. And anybody who aspires to be leader or deputy leader, you should grab it with two hands. But obviously not saying the present leader is going to leave her position very quickly. But what makes it easy is good councillors, and there have been a brilliant lot of councillors over the 22 years, but also the staff. The officers make the job easy, and you can make it easy or difficult for yourself. But can I thank you all very much for your support, and all wish you a very happy Christmas. Thank you, Chairman.
Well, thank you, John, and we're pleased that you could join us today, and we hope that you will come back and visit us again from time to time. At this point, we've completed the morning's agenda in like 40 minutes, so we adjourn the meeting until 2 o'clock this afternoon, when we will be commencing with item 14, which is climate change. Thank you.
you.